right here. You're so if you like it, like it, like it, like it,
the more information that appears online means that that's more information that will be disseminated offline through just through people's networks and just in the country at large. So it's really just proliferating information in general is going to benefit everybody.
A large number of new e-government initiatives and data clearinghouses and new policies around transparency, especially around budget and spending data in addition to raw data feeds, all happening at the state level. And at the local level, there's enormous variety. It just completely depends on the locality.
We rarely work directly with local organizations, but we support and communicate with and try to offer as much advice as we can to both citizen-driven organizations. Like there's an Open Government New York City group that tries to work with the New York City administration to release more data, and they've had a large degree of success there. And there's been some activity in San Francisco as well to produce these data sets, these data clearinghouses. But that's something that is really happening as part of the sort of culture change that starts at the federal level and spreads down to the state level, and the enthusiasm spreads down to the local level. But at Sunlight, we keep our direct efforts primarily at the federal level. I guess on my end, since I focus a great deal on publishing, getting data out and making sure it's in a good format, one of the most obvious and immediate challenges is trying to convince government organizations and agencies that PDF is not sufficient all the time. So for some forms of data, PDF may be sufficient as far as maybe just documents go, but really anything that is a data set needs to go further, but a lot of people just don't understand that, and so trying to increase technical literacy to just the point that it has to be for people to understand why releasing something in XML is superior to PDF, that would be just one example of a challenge that we run into all the time.
Identifying and enacting the sort of institutional changes that support the more open society that we're starting to see, the sort of changes that recognize the role of the citizen developer or recognize the role of a non-traditional watchdog or media analyst or blogger. In all the ways that society is changing really quickly right now, there are policies that go along with it that have to enable that change to happen and to support it and to make sure that these changes are good for everyone. So there's a lot of different pieces defining what has to change. Well, I started at the Sunlight Foundation in I guess it would be 2006, the end of 2006. I was politically active, and after the 2006 midterms I started thinking about how political activism around elections could translate into being relevant to government. So I was writing online about access to information about Congress, and that got noticed, and I got introduced to Sunlight, and within the next 6 months moved to Washington, D.C., and since then I've been working with Sunlight as the policy director, figuring out what government should be doing differently with this information. So if I didn't have this job, I would probably be doing the same work. So it's a pleasure to be there. There was no professional relationship. I had recently finished a degree in philosophy and was researching on my own to try to help a community of people online on a blog figure out what they could watch and how they could connect to Congress. So I was researching what is knowable about Congress on the internet, and that led me to Sunlight.
I joined Sunlight in March of this year, actually, and I really only became so civically interested in the last year or two. And I've been a coder for a while, for several years, but I was really getting very dissatisfied with just working on a bunch of different corporate websites, for one half-baked idea or another, and I really just wanted to try to find a way to combine my technical skill with something that was making a positive difference. And So I sort of was, my energy level went very high during the Obama campaign in general, and that, along with it, promised a great deal of emphasis on transparency. And so Sunlight seemed like a really good fit coming into it. And I'm very happy to be able to participate in what is a very unique year in American politics, especially as far as transparency goes. The opportunities are never as high as they have been this year, and being able to work on the technical side of things is great.
Soul scratches. Got the streets. Soul scratches. The numbers erased. Soul scratches. Think it's up.